A real common annoying issue with all LS engines, whether it be in a van, a car, a pickup truck, is an exhaust leak. And these exhaust leaks come from broken exhaust manifold bolts that are really hard to access when the engine's in the vehicle. I'm going to show you a kind of a shortcut. It's kind of a band-aid fix. I mean, I guess maybe some would say it's temporary, some may not. But it's cheap and it's effective, and you don't have to remove the exhaust manifold. The vehicle that I'm going to show you this fix on is a 2005 Chevy Express van. I've already got the doghouse, that's the interior engine cover removed because I just put a transmission in this, and it makes it incredibly easy to do what I'm going to show you. Now, if you're doing this on a pickup truck, it's a little bit more difficult because you only have about an inch of room to get up behind the cylinder head on the driver's side. In the van, even without the doghouse removed, you have about 4 inches, so you don't have to remove the doghouse. However, this makes it incredibly easy, and it also makes it easy to film, so I can show you the situation that I'm talking about here. If it was a pickup truck, it'd be a lot harder to film. I've never installed these on a van. That being said, I've installed several of them on Sierra and Silverados. So it is a lot harder to do it on the trucks, but it's doable. So let me show you what we got going on. Okay, so the first bracket that I'm going to show you would be for the passenger side rear of the cylinder head. It'll also fit the driver's side front. And then the second bracket I'll show you will fit the driver's side rear, and of course it'll fit the passenger side front. So this is this is it. I want to say I paid around 35 bucks for this on Amazon. I think you can get them on eBay or Amazon. There's several manufacturers of them. But basically how this works is 2 of these bolts go through here and here, and they actually bolt onto the side of the cylinder head in existing holes that are already threaded for these threads. So it makes it real easy, and the holes are already empty. Okay? And then the third bolt goes right here, and when this bracket is bolted to the cylinder head, this third bolt right here, as you thread this in, it actually applies force on the exhaust manifold, and it kind of takes the place of the bolt that's supposed to be there that broke off. So this will actually push the exhaust manifold tight against the cylinder head and seal up your exhaust leak. So again, this was for the passenger rear or driver's side front. This bracket is going to be the most common bracket, and this is probably why, if you're watching this video, this is what you're looking for right here. Because every bolt on this engine, if it was in a pickup truck, with the exception of the driver's side rear, can be drilled out relatively easy, not terrible. But the driver's side rear, a section of the body is in the way, so that's where this bracket comes in handy. And again, this was also like a $35 bracket. I think I got this off eBay. I don't remember for sure, but you can just do a search on LS engine or LS exhaust manifold brackets on either one, and it'll come up. This one comes with 2 bolts. Not sure why they gave us 3 washers. I think that was a mix-up there. So, how this works is it bolts to the rear of the cylinder head, like this right here, on the back side of the motor, with these bolts in existing holes with that bolt thread. And then this bolt, you can see it's got a nut welded to it. And after you get this bracket bolted up, you tighten this bolt right here, and then the end of this bolt where this nut is welded provides the clamping force, in place of the missing bolt or the broken bolt. One thing you want to make sure when you do this is that the original exhaust manifold bolts, if they're broke off, they have to be at least flush or broken off inside the manifold. Typically, you're not going to see them. They break off inside the manifold, and that's why the manifold loses its clamping force. So I think we'll do the driver's side first, because I would imagine if you search this and this is the video you found, you're probably searching it for the driver's side. So we'll do that side first. We are looking at the driver's side cylinder head all the way at the rear. You can see right here that the the head of the bolt is gone because the bolt broke off. You can see a gap between the manifold and the cylinder head. The reason for that gap is because that bolt broke off and there's no clamping force. This hole right here and then that hole right there are the two holes that bracket is going to bolt to. It's a good idea to take compressed air and blow out those holes, because they're going to have dirt, dust, debris, and everything else in them, and it'll make it easier to thread the bolts in there for the bracket. Okay, as previously stated, you want to make sure that the bolt isn't protruding beyond the exhaust manifold, or else this won't work. And I've never seen one break off that is protruding. They always break off, you know, inside like that. So we can see that we don't have that issue here, so we're going to go ahead and throw this bracket on. So like I said, this bracket's going to mount right here, and we're just going to use these existing bolt holes in the cylinder head. If I can find the other one. We want to make sure that this bolt is backed all the way out when we tighten these up. We don't want this making contact yet. Okay, now that I've tightened those two up, I'm going to run this bolt in. And as I tighten this up, it's now applying clamping pressure on the back of the exhaust manifold. Now the instructions say between 32 and 38 foot-pounds of torque, which is basically just hand tight. You don't need to use a torque wrench on this. Just snug up those other two bolts and then just snug this up. And this side is done. And this is the bracket you're going to use the most on pickup trucks, because honestly, this is about the only bolt you really have to struggle to get at in the trucks. You can drill out the rest of the bolts and replace them, but I guess if a guy didn't want to spend time drilling out a bolt, he could spend 35 bucks, and I think it takes maybe about an hour, 45 minutes, an hour to put this on for your first time. Okay, this is done. Let's go move to the passenger side. Okay, so we're over here on the passenger side, and you can see, like the driver's side, our bolt is missing from right there. It's broken off. And we can see a little bit of a gap between the exhaust manifold and the cylinder head. So this bracket, let me pull this out of the way here. Okay. This bracket, a little bit different than the other one, and it's going to go just like this right here. The one thing we have to contend with, though, is this heat shield. This heat shield right here, the very top edge of it, is in the way of our bracket. Now I think you could probably, if a guy didn't have a, I'm going to use a cutoff wheel and I'm just going to trim this off. If you didn't have a cutoff wheel, you could probably get away with hammering this down, you know, or maybe even peeling it back, getting it out of your way. I'm just going to take my cutoff wheel and we're going to trim this to get it out of the way for the bracket. Okay, with that bracket out of the way, or with that exhaust shield out of the way, our bracket is going to go just like that. Before we install that, let's blow these holes out. You'll notice there's a hole in here, okay? On the driver's side front, that hole is for the temperature sensor. The temperature sensor actually protrudes that hole. So if you're putting this on the driver's side front, you'd have to unplug the electrical connector in order to slip this over the temperature sensor. Kind of neat how they made them to fit like that. Do this without knocking the camera. Okay, the third bolt threads into that hole, and this is the bolt that's going to supply the clamping force. And just like that, that is done. This will not leak, from here anyways. So that was a pretty easy way to fix a leaky exhaust manifold on a 4.8, 5.3, 6.0, or 6.2 GM LS engine. If you guys found this video helpful, give me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe and check out my other videos. Thanks for watching, guys.